Yo, what is going on, Vulcan family? Vulcan family, that's new. Vulcan Turtle family, I hope you all are having a fantastic day. I'm going to show you guys a deck today, and it isn't like a normal deck that you would probably expect to see some other content creators cover. I mean, there's some out there that would 100% cover this, but it's not really in the limelight, and I think it's a shame because it will make you pull your hair out if you're not prepared for it. If I see anybody playing this on the ladder, if I see anybody playing this at their cups and challenges, and if I see you winning, first off, high five, but second off, I will find you and I will put a stop to it because honestly, it is such a pain in the butt to play against. Now, I'm not saying it's the God deck and it's going to be winning every single matchup, but if your opponents aren't prepared for it, they might just throw away the match for you to win. So sit back and relax as we jump into Block Snorlax. So why Block Snorlax? Well, let's actually look at like some statistical data without looking at any statistical data because I'm too lazy to edit it in for you. But we can use our imaginations. Let's look at the NAIC winning list. How many switch options were in that deck? Go ahead and put your comments or answers in the comments below. It was one. It was an escape rope, and it mostly relied on manual retreating with the Rapid Strike Tower. Let's talk about Arc Duraludon and Arctina. They usually only play two with one switch, one escape rope. What I'm trying to say is the majority of some of these top decks that are being played right now do not play a lot of switching options. And I left Gardevoir out of this because they play no switching options. They literally only play Gardevoir, which means that they can just accelerate energy and manually retreat and then heal it all with the Cresselia. But they do play Penny, a one-of copy of Penny, meaning that they can only Penny twice. So why is all of that relevant to this deck? Well, Block Snorlax is a Pokemon that came out in Pokemon Go expansion, and it says as long as this Pokemon's in the active spot, your opponent's active Pokemon can't retreat, which is super nutty, right? Now, Lost Box could be a little bit of an issue, but honestly, it's not as bad as you think it could be. Now, the whole point of this deck is to make your opponent deck out. That is why you're doing this. It is so that way your opponent can't play the game. You don't want them to be able to switch around and get into Pokemon that can knock out Snorlax or any of its support Pokemon. You don't want to be able to get your opponent going. You just want to deck them out. And how are we actually facilitating this? Well, we do have a Crabominable in the deck with Trigger Avalanche. Once your opponent's out of switch options and you can start, stalling them out a little bit more, you can use Crabominable to just throw away the rest of their deck. Now, you can just lock something in place because they don't have any energy. You can lock something in place because they don't have any switch options. Once that happens, you are milling two for the rest of the game and just decking them out from that point forward. We also have some great support Pokemon in here like Rotom V. With Instant Charge, you're able to draw 3 cards and your turn ends, which isn't the worst thing on the planet because you're not attacking anywhere. You're not playing this deck for prize cards. Another great Pokemon that helps us out a ton is Manaphy. Manaphy has an ability or an attack called Pulling Currents. Now, this is a promo. I'm not sure from where, honestly. I'll probably pop something up, but it is a promo card and it is super cool. The Pulling Current says that for a water energy, your opponent reveals their hand, you put 2 basic Pokemon you find there onto their bench. This is really good against players that are very, very smart. If they know what your strategy is, they're probably not going to bench Pokemon that can possibly be stuck in the active. Manaphy takes those Pokemon from the hand, puts them on the bench, and makes them stuck with Snorlax later on. So honestly, Manaphy's a really good inclusion in here. Now, if your opponent can foresee the Manaphy and throws away some of those Pokemon, we do play an Echoing Horn in here so that way we can still have that ability. So honestly, even some good players might falter to that strategy, which is really cool. We have another block Pokemon in here through Mawile. It has Tempting Trap where you can just lock the active Pokemon in the active. Like, that's all it does. It doesn't need to do the extra 90 damage. It doesn't use Bite because we don't play any Psychic Energy. You are just locking a Pokemon in the active and waiting for your opponent to actually just deck out. We also have a Radiant Tsareena here for those really, really hard Lost Box matchups, so you can start healing away some Sableye damage. Another really good Pokemon in this list as well is Pidgeot V. This is one of the ways that we actually just don't deck out as well. Now, that's the thing. We are drawing a lot. We do get to a very small deck size, but with the cards that we have at our disposal, we are not ever decking out ourselves. Our opponent is. And with Vanishing Wings, that helps us out because as long as Pidgeot V is on the bench, you can use Vanishing Wings to put it back into the deck. So if your last card is a Pidgeot and your opponent doesn't have any Path to the Peak or any Spirit Tomb, you can just Vanishing Wings it back into the list, which is super cool because you'll just never deck out. Now, for the actual like support cards, like the cards that make this strategy happen. Now, we obviously want Snorlax in the active, so we are playing 4 Nest Balls here, but we're also playing 4 Boss's Orders, 3 Pokemon Catchers, 4 Cross Switchers. We want to make sure that any Pokemon that we get into the active is stuck in the active. We want to make sure that we are getting something stuck there often. So we are playing a ton of gusting options. And honestly, you're playing even more if you consider the fact that you can always Pal Pad in your bosses. And you could, on a double heads, Cyllene both to your just 2 Cross Switchers back into the deck, which is really busted, but you're mostly using this to make sure that you're pulling off your never-ending deck combo. You want to use Cyllene to get key cards back, sure, like our Switch cards, but you can use Cyllene to always put back something like Team Yell's Cheer or our 2 copies of Pal Pad. This will always continue a cycle where you can just Cyllene back a Pal Pad back to Cyllene, and then later on use Team Yell Cheer if you don't have Pal Pad. Team Yell Cheer gets Cyllene, Cyllene gets Pal Pad gets Team Yell Cheer. It's a cycle. It really is a cycle, and you just don't deck out with it. We also have some really good cards in here. We have Bravery Charm, which will allow us to survive a hit from a lot of great Pokemon. We also have a Pot Helmet here, which is essentially the same thing as Bravery Charm, except you don't increase your health. You just take 30 less damage. Now, I say the same thing, but honestly, it's much better in the single prize matchup. We do have 3 copies of Penny in here. Sometimes the best strategy is to just leave your Snorlax in the active, so that way you can just Snorlax in the active, it gets hit, Penny it to the hand, put up another Snorlax, and repeat that cycle. And again, you can repeat that really easily with that combo I described before with Cyllene, Pal Pad, and Team Yell Cheer. We also play 4 copies of Pokégear in here. We want to make sure that we are hitting our boss's orders often and getting Pokemon stuck. You can get a Pokemon stuck as soon as turn 1, so it's really cool. We're also playing 4 Arven in this list because finding things like Cross Switcher and finding things like Pokemon Catcher are extremely important, but it is also one of the only ways that we are actually searching out Bravery Charm for a Seal Stone and our Pot Helmet. We are also playing Misfortune Sisters in here just for a little bit extra mill support in the later half of the game, or even just early. If you can discard their switch options, you are going to be golden. We do have our Klara in here. Klara is really good because we only play 2 energy in the deck. It is 2 water energy, and you can get that back with Klara. But it is also a really good way to get certain Pokemon back into your hand, like if you, for some reason, don't have Pidgeot, if it's gone, if you don't have any more Snorlaxes, they're gone, or if your Crabominable gets knocked out for any reason, you can always get these Pokemon back with Klara, which is super good. Now, that is like the key cards of the deck. We do have a few other one-ups in here like Peonia and Flannery and all that stuff, but honestly, they get played situationally if you're trying to find certain things. You were trying to make sure that you have all your combo pieces. Flannery's there for just a little bit more stall. So really nothing to talk about on those guys. So honestly, that is the deck. Your whole purpose of playing this is to literally just keep your opponent stuck. Once they're out of resources, make sure they're really out of resources. That is the entire reason you play this deck. So let's jump into a game so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, guys, here we go into our match with Snorlax. I am super excited to play with this deck because it can be very patient wearing because you have to make sure that you're doing things correctly. You can also just brick, which is terrible, but honestly, if you pull off this combo, your opponent's not prepared for it, you are going to win. A smart opponent that runs out of their resources will just scoop it up and then possibly go into a game 2 if you're playing this in a best of 3 format. But if you're not and you're just making sure that your opponent can't do anything, honestly, kind of busted. It's kind of sick. So we are going to see if we can pull off any big wins here. Our opponent is choosing whether they want to go first or second. They're going to go first, so we're going to go second, which does allow us to use a supporter for the turn, which is great. Honestly, not a bad start. We do have Snorlaxes. We do have Rotom V. We have a lot going on here. I do like it. We do have an Arven, so we could actually go get ourselves a VIP pass if needed, but I don't think it's necessary. I really don't. We could go get something like the Bravery Charm. There's a couple of other item cards that we can get, like the Cross Switcher. There's a lot that we can get here. All right, we are up against Gardevoir. Good old Gardevoir. Now, if I'm being 100% honest with you, because they started the Mew, they're not really going to be able to retreat at all. The only way that they're going to be able to retreat at all is to literally just, you know, you find a Penny and play it. And they got to pray that their Penny isn't prized. So if we can, honestly, with Arven, we can go get Pot Helmet, put it on Snorlax, and then this Mew, if they build it up, literally does 0 damage. then we're just chilling. Now, they could eventually just like boss out Rotom, which would suck, but I don't think we even need to play Rotom in this matchup. I think we just put down Snorlaxes. If I'm being completely honest, we just put down Snorlaxes. Let them build up, let them do whatever they want, let them find their penny, and then we'll eventually find our bosses and all of our other resources to make sure that we can keep something like this Mew stuck in the active, because there's no way for them to actually like get rid of it except for playing Penny. And maybe they won't put it back down, but hopefully by then they'll probably like discard something like a Manaphy. They won't have a full bench, and then we can like put it into the put it onto the bench, so that's something that we can trap, and then there's no more problem. Like but we'll see if our opponent is like one of those extremely intelligent opponents that knows how to actually play against this deck. We'll see. We will see. There's Aurora the Sword. So yeah, they are just gonna do that. Definitely. And the cool thing is because Gardevoir they literally only play one copy of Penny usually, and sometimes they don't even play it. With that being said, they literally may not even be able to get this Mew out of the active and just will waste their resources. So I'm gonna get a Pot Helmet here, and I'll grab the VIP pass. Why not grab the VIP pass? It seems fine. Let's see what Pokemon we prize though. Okay, we do have another Snorlax. We did prize one, which isn't a big deal. We do have Misfortune Sisters available to us. Yeah, I don't think we put the Rotom V down. If I'm being 100% honest, I don't want it to be a boss option, so that way they can start switching around. I will grab a Cross Switcher though. I will 100% grab a Cross Switcher. We will put a helmet on Snorlax, and we'll just pass here. Honestly, like that's all we have to do. I don't know if I'm gonna have to put huge cuts in here, but if I do, then you'll know it. If our opponent's smart and realizes, hey, I don't actually have Penny in here and there's no way for me to get rid of this Mew from the active, and if you're not going to bench anything, I'm scooping. That's probably the right way to go about it. So we'll see if they actually get that far, but we also will see how many resources they throw away just to get to that position, because we know they want to throw away a lot of resources. We know that they're going to draw through their deck quite a lot. We know that they do play INO too as well, so they can survive for quite a bit, but we also just survive longer, right? Because we don't run out of resources. It just doesn't happen for us, and so long as we have Pidgeot and we know that they don't play any Path to the Peak, we're pretty much golden. Like, we'll never run out of cards in our deck. We still have Pal Pad, we have Cyllene, we have Team Yelchier, we have everything we need. So let them do their INOs, let them do all their stuff. It doesn't matter to me. We will 100% never deck out. So now it's just the waiting game to see if they do find Penny and if they can play it down. And if they do, if we can try and target something or get something in the active that they can't retreat or attack with. That is kind of like the main goal at this point. So yeah, they're just getting all their Curlias set up at this. Yeah, that's it. It's just all Curlias, getting the routes is down, all that good stuff. It makes sense. It's something you definitely want to do as a Gardevoir player, making sure that you're established. They did fill up the bench, so that means that the only Pokemon that we can really like target is Mew, which unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. If they do find Penny and they don't put Mew back down, that's gonna suck, but you know, what can you do? So they do decide to roar the sword onto Mew, which is interesting. Do I want to Arven? Yeah, we're gonna Arven again. Why not? We'll Arven again. We'll get a Nest Ball, and we can get a Bravery Charm. And then with the Nest Ball, we will go ahead and get ourselves a Snorlax, baby. It's Snorlax time. And I'll put a Bravery Charm onto Snorlax and pass. Literally all I need to do. I don't need to do anything else. They're not going to be able to retreat this Mew. The only way that they're actually going to be able to do anything in this matchup, again, is Penny, or if they are playing the very elusive, like, Canceling Clone. If they do play Canceling Clone, which I don't know why Gardevoir would even tech that in, then we have a problem. But right now, we have no problem. We'll let them cycle through their deck. If they're Penny's prize, so be it. I'm happy about it. If they don't play Penny and no other switching options, I'm even happier, because that means we auto won on turn 1 because they literally started Mew. There's nothing they could do about it. So we are chilling. We are chilling. There's a Fog Crystal. That is fine. Go ahead and use it to get yourself an energy and dig deep. Now, if I'm being 100% honest with you guys, I don't think my opponent would start just drawing as much as they possibly can if they didn't have Penny somewhere in the deck. I'm very much confident that they do have a Penny. and that is why they are drawing so much. Or they just misread what Snorlax does, and they think that they're going to be able to get a KO with the Mew. And see, this is why I absolutely love having nothing but the Snorlax down, because even with the boss's orders, if I had put down Rotom, they could have targeted that and retreated the Mew and then got a 2 prize KO on Rotom, which would have been terrible for us. But luckily for us, they only got Snorlaxes to play around with. That's all they get, is just the big boy himself. Now, this isn't the worst position for us to actually be in either. Mew only does 30, and we do play 3 copies of Penny, so we will be able to get around Penny. Oh, no. Oh, no. Say it ain't so. If they actually, like, if they use that Forest Seal Stone to get Penny here, we're in trouble. We are in some big, big trouble. Did they do it? I honestly don't know. No, they're just going to side shot. They might not actually have access to Penny. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I do not want a cross switcher unless I have a boss. So I'm going to pass. Like, at this point, yeah, it's just, we're just going to pass. We're going to do that a lot. Yeah, I have a feeling that they did not go get Penny off of that Forest Seal Stone, so they probably don't have access to it, meaning that Mew is literally their only attacker for the whole game, which is awesome for us. That is just so good. Boss's orders, perfect. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cross switcher out this Gardevoir, and we'll go ahead and bring up our homie with the Pot Helmet, and I'm gonna boss that Mew back into place, and now this Mew does 0 damage to our Snorlax. So your move, friend. Let's see if you find yourself a boss's orders to target this Snorlax again. And even if you do, okay, even if you do, that's fine. If you get a knockout, I'm okay with it, simply because I have 2 more Snorlaxes, and the one I'm going to promote will be this one. And if I find a Penny, you're in trouble. Did they already throw away Pal Pad too? That's my next question. No, they didn't throw away a Pal Pad yet. That hasn't happened. And there's a side shot. Okay, so we get to survive 2 more turns, and hopefully it's 2 turns we can find ourselves a Penny. Water Energy, that doesn't do anything for us. That does nothing for us. There could be argument right now where I could put down Rotom and draw 3. I could. However, I don't know if that's worth it. They did throw away 2 bosses. Usually they only play 2. You know what? We're going to go for it. It might not be the right call, but I'm going to go for it. Because we do need to find a Penny next turn, which it looks like we're definitely going to do. Now, the painful thing, though, is like, if we find Penny, we'd probably have to Penny up the Rotom. I think we just let him take the KO on Snorlax. If I'm being 100% honest here, I think we let him take the KO on Snorlax. I think that's what we do, unless we top deck a Penny here. No, we get a Nest Ball, but it's not the worst thing. No need to really Team Yelch here. Honestly, yeah, I really do think we just let him get the KO on the Snorlax. Although, the problem with that is the fact that they could get their Penny out of their prizes, which I don't want them to do. So I am going to Penny the Snorlax, and then, you know, hopefully we can draw into another Penny off the Rotom. So we are going to instant charge here, and then if we do, we can just Penny up the Rotom. We did find Misfortune Sisters, though, which is a great way to actually, like, you know, mill them down a little bit more. This is not the kind of matchup where you want to play Crabominable either, until you know that they're like securely out of resources, because then they do have the option to start switching, which we don't want them to have. So once they're completely devoid of all resources and ways to put cards back into the deck, or even if it's just the final 2 cards in their deck, that's when we can go for a Crabominable play. But in this matchup, honestly, where we're sitting at right now is perfect. And there's the scoop. Yeah, they can't do anything. Like, that was Gardevoir, arguably one of the best decks in the format, and we just completely made them not play. Like, that is nuts. So there is another game that I did film for this deck, but unfortunately I didn't realize it until it was too late. My mic wasn't on. There's no audio to this game whatsoever, but I will just show you the highlight and the power of a deck like this, and you can see how close it was. Now, I'm going to voice over it because, again, there is absolutely no audio to this except for maybe like the background music for some reason, but I will explain. So in this situation, you're going to see that my opponent literally is able to survive because they have Squavit. And with Squavit, they can just keep recycling cards and they'll never deck out, putting us at a weird stalemate. Now, I was in a weird position myself. I was able to find Crabominable finally and get that into my active after bossing out their Alakazam. And once I did that, it was just free runnings. I was able to just keep discarding because I was able to count my opponent's energies that were discarded in what they lost already, what they didn't have, and what I assumed they didn't have. Now, the reason I did this play instead of just keeping my Snorlax in the active is because, again, it was a stalemate and there's nothing I could do, so we would just keep doing that forever. However, finding things like Switch Cart and making sure I had Crabominable and knowing my opponent's prize count, knowing my meta decks that I'm going up against, I knew how many energy my opponent had, and they did not have enough to actually retreat my their Alakazam once I boss it into the active. And with that, that means I was free running to just put Crabominable in the active and just mill them down to 0 so that way we could take the game. It was a ton of fun. Honestly, I'm sad that I wasn't able to actually showcase that video because it was insane back and forth. It really shows the power. Unfortunately, there's just no audio and that sucks. But I'm happy to show that because it really shows the power of the deck, because once you know that your opponent's completely out of switch options, completely out of energy, you can just trap something, just leave it there. There's nothing they can do about it at all. And then you just start milling and milling and milling with Crabominable. It is insane how good that combo can be. But thank you guys for watching. I truly appreciate it. And if you liked the video, don't forget to like. It really helps the channel out. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed so you can join the Vulcan Turtle family. I will be uploading 3 times a week now. I got a new schedule. I'm very happy about it. And I cannot wait to be sharing deck lists with you guys. We got Obsidian Flames coming soon, so prepare for that. I've got a very special video coming out for you guys as well, especially if you're a newer player. If you're a newer player, this next video, not the next video, Friday's video is going to be another profile, but the video after that, the Monday video, maybe Wednesday, we'll find out. But soon there will be a video out about Pokemon challenges and Pokemon cups and all the things that you need to know about being a competitive player, each having their own episode so you know what to expect if you want to join the competitive community. But we'll talk about that later. Thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it. And until next time, stay safe and be kind.